we're on the air. All right. Good evening, everybody. This is the November 6th, 2024 regular meeting of the Oakdale Economic Development Commission. I call this meeting to order. Let's do a roll call as first up on the agenda. Max, can you do the roll call, please?
Sure thing. Looks like Commissioner Vang and Commissioner Voca were unable to make it tonight. I do believe we'll be expecting Commissioner Orsello, but he's not here at the moment. Otherwise, we have Commissioner Jenkins, Penn, Bates, Severson, and Stiglich.
Thank you. Okay, next up is the Pledge of Allegiance. Tony, can you lead, please?
You bet. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve this agenda?
I'll move approval of the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Next up is approval of the minutes for the August 7th, 2024 regular meeting attached. Can I have a motion to approve those?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Minutes of this August 7th meeting are approved. All right, next up on the agenda is our open forum. I see nobody here from the public to participate in the open forum, so we'll just move on to the next agenda. Next up is old business. First up on the old business, well, the only item on old business is with the BRIA program. Max, can you give us the update?
Yeah. Thank you, Vice Chair, and thank you, EDC. So tonight I have our last business retention, expansion, and attraction update program for the 2023 through 2024 program cycle. Since the EDC's last meeting in August, City staff finished the final 2 business visits of the program cycle, bringing the total number of visits during this cycle to 12. With all visits finished, staff is now working with the St. Paul Chamber to prepare a report that summarizes the key themes and takeaways that we heard from each participating business. We anticipate that this report should be finished by the end of the year, and then will be presented to the City Council and the Economic Development Commission in the early part of 2025. Additionally, staff is working to set up the 3rd program cycle for 2024 through 2025. So once business visits begin again, we'll make sure that we share opportunities to join us on visits with EDC members. Last meeting, we collected names for members who are interested in joining visits. For the last visit we did since then, we randomized names to offer the time to join us on a visit. If you did not receive an email asking if you can join us, please stay tuned and we'll make sure that that's sent out once we start those visits up again. This time around, actually, Commissioner Penn was able to join us for one of the business visits. So with that, I'll summarize those last 2 visits, starting with the Waters of Oakdale. The Waters of Oakdale is a senior living facility that offers independent living units, assisted living, and memory care. The building contains 91 total units, 28 of which are dedicated to intensive memory care. The staff noted that the rise of aging in place is leading to more people staying in their single-family homes or other housing types for longer. However, they noted that the business still remained quite successful, with 88% of all units currently occupied. They noted that they maintained 73 full-time employees, including nurses, servers, maintenance, housekeepers, and others. They expressed that, like many assisted living businesses, they experienced issues with staffing turnover. And with regard to Oakdale, they stated that they appreciated the city's location, the police response, and their site's proximity to highways and walking destinations. but they noted that they had some safety issues and catalytic converter thefts in recent years. For our final visit of this program cycle, we visited LA Fitness, and please note that LA Fitness was planning to stay open when we conducted the visit, and their leasing deal did fall through a few days later after the visit. Regardless, we learned a lot of insights into the fitness industry from this visit, and we're hopeful that more fitness businesses will open in Oakdale as the city grows and development continues. Generally, gym staff stated that the business struggled a bit during COVID, but had been approaching pre-COVID membership numbers recently. They noted that they were planning several site improvements and maintained 6 full-time staff with roles in sales, operations, receptionists, maintenance, and personal trainers. They stated that all roles were somewhat hard to fill, and other gyms had issues with filling positions. They also expressed excitement over the city's development and growth for the opportunity to have a larger membership base. Generally, they praised the city's operations and suggested that development should continue, and the city should make sure to try to support businesses along the 34th Street corridor. Stacy was able to join us for this visit, so please feel free to fill in any details I might be missing since I wasn't able to make it to that one if you feel comfortable.
I thought it was a really interesting business to visit, and the dynamics of how, their operations worked. They seemed really, excited and optimistic about the growth. So, yeah, I was a little shocked when I saw that they weren't staying. So, but they do have another facility in Maplewood, I know. So I think I heard that, their memberships could transfer there. But it does leave a hole in that development, so hopefully somebody will pick it up. I mean, they've got a pool in there, and a nice facility.
What's happening with LA? I know they closed, but
So they lease the land, they lease the building, so it was like a build-out lease when they built it, and I think the renewal of their lease came up, and it must have been a negotiation issue, was my understanding.
Yeah, that's city staff's understanding as well, is it ultimately came down to a lease renewal issue.
okay.
Big facility.
Yeah.
You ride by the place, it's always full. Just amazing that they would have trouble.
Yeah, I don't think it had anything to do with their membership.
Yeah, what, say
I
again?
don't think it had anything to do with their membership
Oh,
numbers. I think it was totally a lease situation.
Wow.
I wonder if that means there's potential for a similar facility to either build or take over that lease or something.
Yeah.
Something, the need of the community seems to be there. Comments, the online comments that my wife was looking at and relating to me were a lot of people saying, I don't want to go anywhere else. They want to be here in Oakdale. They want to stay in Oakdale, which I think just says a lot right there. Any other comments?
And if there's any general questions about the business retention program, I'd be happy to take questions on that as well.
All right then. Next up on the agenda is new business. First item there is the 12th and Geneva redevelopment analysis. Max, can you fill us in on that?
Yep. Thank you, Vice Chair. Tonight we have an early planning session for the city's upcoming 12th and Geneva redevelopment study. Currently, staff is exploring options on how to pursue a redevelopment study in the area surrounding the intersection of 12th Street North and Geneva Avenue, also known as Highway 120 or Century Avenue. Here we can see the rough study area borders up on the screen, which are defined by Geneva/120, 10th Street, Glenbrook Avenue, and 14th Street. The study area is identified in the city's 2040 comprehensive plan as a priority area for redevelopment and is characterized by some conflicting land uses and older aging commercial properties. In the past, there have been redevelopment proposals in this area, though they did fall through. We're currently planning to begin this study in early 2025, and as a result, we're looking for input from the EDC on what in particular we should look at, what are we missing based on what we want to look at next year, and generally what areas and topics should be included in the study. Currently, staff has preliminary study goals, including exploring appropriate land use alternatives for select parcels, conducting a market analysis of the area, identifying which parcels might be best suited for redevelopment, analyzing transportation options, including Century Avenue, and examining what infrastructure constraints exist on site, whether there's sewer issues or any other utility problems that could make redevelopment difficult. So as we look to bring this proposal forward for how to conduct the study, we prepared some questions that hopefully we're looking for some input on from the EDC, including based on those goals I mentioned, is anything missing? Is there anything else you want to make sure gets explored? Is there any background or context on the study area you want to make sure that us as staff is aware of? Again, I've been with the city about 2 years, so there's a lot of history I might be missing, institutional knowledge, things that we might not know if we don't own a business there, et cetera. How would you like to see the future of the study area look like? How would the EDC like to be engaged beyond at these meetings? If we went with a more of a workshop approach rather than a traditional multi-month study, would anyone be interested in attending that? And as representatives of the business community, what business concerns should we keep in mind while conducting the study? Otherwise, also input is welcomed on stakeholders. Right now, we want to target area residents, business owners, property owners, developers, Washington County, and MnDOT. With that, if any of those questions are speaking to you, or we can go one by one, please feel free to provide some input, because this is one where it'll be pretty important next year.
Does the state have a plan to redevelop Highway 120? I think there was talk of that, of widening it or something to that degree.
Yeah, there is currently a Pell study that's being planned. I don't think the majority of it has started. It's kind of been rolling down the line. So when that study starts, if we have a redevelopment analysis of this area, we can use it to help inform MnDOT and help it better suit Oakdale when they do come up with their future decisions on that area.
That was exactly my thoughts, was it would be nice to know what that is before you get too deeply into your study.
I think even if you knew options the state was looking at, if the majority of them are this shape,
Yeah,
then you can plan for that.
True,
That
yeah,
shape,
yeah.
widening or how
True.
it turns out to be. This is the area where that post office is, our post office. I thought I recognized that. And then there's another restaurant right off of Gershwin and 10th, a fast food place. I see apartment buildings there, and I'm not sure, these looks like office buildings there.
Frank knows the area well, I'm sure.
Yep. But what would happen to existing entities there?
I think that's part of what we want to look at and make sure that we identify, say, this use in particular may serve a really important community role. We don't want to see this entire area redeveloped necessarily. We want to see which sites in particular within the broader area there might be better uses down the line.
There's some pretty established businesses in that area, isn't there?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think there's also some businesses right along, I don't know, this center part there, just on the north side of 12th Street along Century. I think just a restaurant that just opened up in that strip mall, like within the last year or so. So even businesses that are just starting to get going. My concern would be access. If like 120 does come through and they do something, most likely, my guess is it's going to be a limited access situation where they're not, they're going to try to smooth traffic out. So if the only access right now is off of 120, well, then an alternate access would be needed for those businesses. That would help them. I know there's just some thoughts. I have.
That's potentially a concern we could identify within the study and then use that once MnDOT's conducting that study to try to back up our position.
Is there actual apartment buildings back there too? And
So-
There's a mix of apartment buildings and townhomes.
are those low income, do you know?
Some of them do have long-term affordability contracts.
Because
through-
that's such a need in our community. I would hate to see us take away more low income housing.
Yeah, right now we're actually, so this is an item that will be in a upcoming city council meeting, but there's a proposal we're working on with one of the townhomes to actually extend that affordability contract as a part of a bonding portion to put more money into the project, update the maintenance, some updates that aren't up to code, potentially some safety issues, and
That would make sense.
So is the study's more on the aging of the commercial properties on this site versus the townhomes and apartments in the back? I'm guessing those are fairly newer, if I recall, last time I was back there.
If the council wanted to identify the apartments as something we should look more into, we could do that. But generally, the redevelopment efforts in the past have been centered more on the strip mall uses.
Okay.
So if that shopping center on 12th and Century, that's being remodeled right now, did you see that?
Yes, I drive past that on my way in.
It's only been 50 years since they've touched that thing, put a coat of paint or anything on it. It looks like they're gonna do a pretty good job on it. They're taking it right down to the 2x4s and they're redoing it, yeah. So that's gonna be helpful because that building was just an absolute disaster.
So that's quite the investment already going in even before
Is
we.
that the one that's
this
facing
starts up.
Century?
Patient Century,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, right across the street from the Dairy Queen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And the restaurant in there, M&C, I believe it is, there's quite a few of them in the cities, or in I think North St. Paul. I think Muddy Cow is the company that owns it, and they've got several other restaurants. And the inside of the bar now is nice. It's really, really nice. So I go over there for lunch quite often, actually, and I bring customers with, so I'm not ashamed of it. They redid it, I'd say, within the last year. I mean, new floors, new ceilings, new tables and chairs, and it's a very nice restaurant.
Impressive. It was. I think that's the one I'm thinking of. It was impressive, I recall.
Yeah, it was very nice. And they have $10, $10.95 hamburgers for lunch. I mean, so that's pretty, they're really working on it. They really are.
Good quality and good price.
Good quality, good prices, yeah. And the clientele is construction workers that stop there for lunch and that kind of thing. So it's a good place. They're doing very well.
Okay.
They're good business people.
So I think whatever we put into this, we don't want to disrupt those businesses. We want to keep those. That's the
Right.
type of thing that we need. One thing in that list that you had on the screen earlier that was missing to consider, I think, is the post office. Even if all it is listed to say we're not touching it, then it's there to say we're not touching it, if that ends up being the case.
Yeah, I think that's an important outcome of the study would be exactly what do we recognize as not touching going forward in the future versus what is appropriate in the, say, 10, 20-year long-term future.
I was gonna suggest the same thing, that southeast quadrant of this section, there are, along 10th Street there are, I think they're business condos, but they're relatively new. And behind that and to the east of the post office is that a senior apartment building, I believe, and I think that's in my eyes, relatively new also. And those I would consider probably would not need to be redeveloped either, but.
I think one of the other things you might want to, or they might run into if it's in this, would be the southwest corner, right? I think isn't there a auto repair shop and a Marathon gas station there? Is that right or no?
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
On there? So from like contamination or environmental study, depending on what you would do in that, probably most of that southwest corner, if that's part of it, there need to be some environmental study, I would assume, be done in the underground, if it's drinking water or whatever it would be.
Yep. And sometimes there's special grants, for whether that's from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency or the Department of Employment and Economic Development, specifically for sites that might have environmental remediation issues.
I think engaging the existing businesses in that area into the discussion as you guys move forward or the chamber or representatives, would be important.
All right. Any further discussion? Max, I'm assuming that if we do have any more comments, one of the bullet points there is how do we communicate with you? I think we could just send you a note.
Yeah, you're always free to email me if there's something you wish you had said during the meeting, or even if you want to set up some time to just come in and talk. We're always looking for more input. This is very early in the stages, so this input's really important as we shape up into what this study's going to look like.
All right.
Do you think it'll go to a workshop type of model to look at it?
That's one of the two ways we're exploring it, and something like that, say, can take significantly less time. We need less money for that, and can get very comparable results depending on who we work with. We haven't done that before, though, so it's just something we're exploring at this moment. But if you think that sounds like a good option, I know we're definitely open to it as staff.
Are you kind of thinking of putting money into, or giving loans or grants to remodel some of the properties in there, some of the buildings that are probably less than standard?
The city did used to maintain some loan programs like that. My understanding is there isn't support for doing programs like that right now due to some issues with those programs where there were difficulties collecting loans, and I think maybe there's an opportunity to partner with other agencies, but it's something we could explore in that study if that's something we hear from business owners that they need.
Would you just let EDC know if you want representatives as they move forward with this?
I would definitely bring that back to EDC as an opportunity, at minimum as a staff update, but
Okay, any other comments, questions for Max? Okay, then. Let's move on to item number 2, the 2025 Draft Economic Development Commission Work Plan. Max, can you take it?
yeah. Thank you, Vice Chair. Next up, we have the 2025 EDC Draft Work Plan. As a reminder to those of you who were here last year, or may not have been, the EDC and other city commissions are required to prepare an annual work plan that outlines priorities, goals, and activities that the commission wishes to focus on for the year. Generally, staff prepare a draft plan based on upcoming city projects and what we've been hearing from the commission, and then the commission provides additional input and adjusts those goals and priorities as necessary. The 2025 draft plan is located in your packet towards the end and will be shown on the screen in a few moments for reference as well. Generally, the goals we drafted are somewhat similar to last year's, with priorities including implementing findings from the 2023 and 2024 BRIA reports, continuing the development of educational materials for current and prospective business owners in Oakdale, participating and providing input in new city studies, and providing guidance on how to better market the city of Oakdale as a destination for new residents and businesses. We did, in the budget for next year, get a bit of money to explore marketing Oakdale as a destination for residents and businesses, and I know that's something that EDC commissioners have shown a lot of interest in the past, so I'm hoping that's something we can do next year. Here we have the first few goals of the draft plan, and again, it might be easier to follow on the physical paper copy. Highlights include continuing the BRIA program, participating more in business visits and business development events, advising staff on how best to market the city for economic development, assisting with redevelopment efforts and area plans. Here We have a few more goals, which include collaborating with other local economic development groups on projects and programs, promoting resources and tools related to economic development, participating in studies, including that 12th in Geneva study that we just talked about, participating in trainings, and integrating educational topics from the guest agencies and organizations that are similar in economic development goals. So the approved 2024 work plan is also on file within your meeting packet, in addition to the economic development chapter of the 2040 plan and the economic development chapter of the city code. With that, I'd like to open the room to any questions, comments, and suggestions. Please note that we do have to have a finalized draft for city council approval at that council appreciation dinner in February that we attached a flyer for in the email for this meeting. There is no meeting in January, so we can either hold a December meeting to revisit the document if the commission desires, or if you think of feedback later, you can email me and I'll incorporate those changes directly. So with that, any input that you might have on these goals, things you think we aren't focusing enough on, things that you think would be beneficial to look at next year, happy to hear it and make sure that it gets included.
Has anything changed, or what's changed, I should say, what has changed between 2024 and 25?
Yeah, so it's a similar document. I've updated the exact studies that we'll provide input on and added that marketing piece, more language on that here, as that's something we're really excited for as staff for next year. Otherwise, it is similar in nature to the work plan from last year, but any changes, we can change whatever the commission feels should be changed or added.
Do you think the plan is to hold probably 12 visits again for the BR&E visits similar to this year? That worked a little bit better?
I think that worked well for us on the staff end, in that it was easier to schedule. We had a lot of trouble that first year with 18 visits, trying to get those all scheduled. It took us longer than we thought, whereas we were able to do a solid 1 to 2 a month this year, which helped move things along quite a bit.
All right, any comments on the proposed plan? All right, Max, you want to, you're asking if we wanted to approve this in February or December meeting?
So if this is something where you're not sure and we should take a second look at it, we could hold a second December meeting. I have some items we could bring, or a second meeting that would be in December, I should say. But in the past, we've historically canceled December meetings so that people can focus on the holidays and be with their family. So I bring that up because last year, we weren't super sure what to do with the plan, and so it was requested by the commission that we bring it back a second time. And that's part of why we held a December meeting last year. We do not have to do that this year, so if you just want to email me any additional thoughts, we can avoid that December meeting, or we can hold that December meeting, and there's some other stuff as well that staff have, just because that was the preference last year. We don't have to do that.
I think it'd be good to have some time to contemplate what we were presented with here, so. Everybody okay with emailing Max with updates? Yeah. Okay, so that's what we'll plan to do then.
Okay.
We'll send you emails with anything to update. Anything else on the 2025 draft economic plan?
No, I think that marketing piece is probably the biggest change, as well as the updated studies. And with the Tanner's Lake project moving quite a bit along now, I removed that just in that to focus on general redevelopment rather than that redevelopment in specific.
Okay. All right. All right, nothing else. We can move on to the next agenda item. This is the number 8 other items. Do we have any staff liaison updates from Max?
I have a couple staff liaison updates. For one, a couple commissioners reached out to me a few weeks ago with questions about the sales tax extension. We're kind of limited in what we can say to that prior to the election, but I do want to note that that did pass last night. So that helps close part of the funding gap that resulted from inflation and the increased cost of construction, labor, and materials for the police department remodel and then the public works facility. Otherwise, last month we did have the Willowbrook Commons Park open up in the Willowbrook neighborhood. It was a really good turnout for the opening. Lots of children, and it's been very busy since. For anyone who hasn't been able to see it, it's a really nice park, and I'd highly recommend taking a drive, or if you have children or grandchildren. It's been pretty popular with that population, so I'd recommend taking a look at it. One additional update, the Tanner's Lake project received formal approval by the City Council last month. There's some work yet, especially with the access that needs to be worked out. But that is moving along.
What is going on in there? I guess I'm behind on that. What's going on?
Yeah, ultimately, it is a apartment building as well as a amenity lakeside building where that can be rented out and used for meetings. That's directly over a boardwalk that looks at the lake, as well as 12 townhome units.
Will that building be owned by the people who own the apartments and townhomes, or is
The
that-
building would be owned. However, the boardwalk and all of the walking amenities, the city would have a easement over, so it would be publicly accessible to everybody, and anyone would be able to walk in or park and use it.
How many units in the apartment?
I believe a little over 110, but I'm speaking off memory. If you want to take a look at the development map that we maintain, that has an exact number.
Is that part of the previous discussion? I don't remember looking at a bunch of different layouts for parks and stuff like that. I don't recall like the apartments being part of the plan ever. Was that recent or did I miss that?
Yeah, so that's on the other side of the lake. So this is a portion of land the city's owned since 2008. That's on the west side of the lake, more by Century. The Tanner's Lake Park that was brought up at that parks discussion, that's on the east side.
Thank you.
So this apartment building and all that is going down on the corner there by the restaurant, by the, what's the name of that?
Denny's?
No, it's going
Denny's, yeah,
on,
by Denny's, is that correct?
it's going on Century, facing Century, I think, where the Harmon Glass used to be. Used to be a Harmon Glass shop there.
That-
Yeah,
Yeah, that's correct. The apartment building would be closer to the existing condominium building, closer to Century Avenue, whereas the townhomes and all of the public amenities and walking trails would be more on the southern end because that touches the lake directly.
So you're having trouble with the entrance and exits of that property there, right? Because, I mean, that is kind of a stinker right now. Just even, say you're going to Denny's, you know, there's got that frontage road and go back, it's kind of dead ends, and, I mean, that's a mess back there. So what, is that what the problem is?
In part, this is probably the most complex site in Oakdale, as it's off of very close to a county road. It's very close to an interstate highway and a state highway, so there's special permissions needed to put in any new accesses. It's very, very narrow and kind of hard to get to, and it fronts the lake shore. So with that, there's DNR, floodplain regulations.
Oh, my goodness.
So
Whoa.
So it's coming back to me now.
it's a tough spot to redevelop, really.
It is.
So who's heading this, putting this together? Who's in the city? Who's heading that?
within city staff,
Yeah.
or, so largely that's been handled by our department director, Andrew Getzloff.
Okay.
And then the developer is a mix of a couple developers who decided to do it as a joint project.
Boy, it's a tough one.
It's exciting that they're actually moving forward with it.
Good. Shoot, I remember that ever since I've joined the commission. It's been talked about
They've been talking about it for a long time.
for quite a while. No, this is very good. All right. All right.
Yeah, and with that, if you have any other development questions, I can answer those as well.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Max?
That concludes the updates I had for tonight.
Okay. Next up is commissioner updates.
I don't have anything.
I do. As you may know, I was elected to the city council. So
Congratulations.
thank you. My time on the EDC will be coming to an end. Doesn't mean I'm going away, just changing hats a little bit. So I appreciate your support. It's been a pleasure to serve with you on this commission, and we'll be talking again.
Sweet. All right. I don't have so much of an update as a question for Max. I thought this was the best place to put it. We had the park survey that we went through a few months ago. And then there was, later on, there's 2 surveys for Tanner's, the Tanner side, the east side of the park over there, 2 different development concepts. Any word on how all that's played out, where that's going?
Yeah, I believe that will be, there was some discussion at the last city council workshop. If you want to take a look at the meeting packet online, this is a project that if planning and zoning questions come up, I'll sit in, but this isn't one where I'm a very active member, so I'm not sure on some of the updates, in particular the survey results. I know that there will be a report on the survey results and what we heard and how those concepts have changed as a result. Some of those details are in the most recent council workshop packet, though I'm not sure off the top of my head. So I would recommend looking at that to start, and then I'd be happy to give you the contact information for my coworker Hannah Dunn, who's the project lead on that, if you have additional questions.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have.
I just have, tomorrow is the Oakdale Chamber meeting, and it is at the Holiday Inn Suites.
Holiday
Yeah,
Inn,
by,
Holiday Inn, yeah.
Machine shed.
Machine Shed, yep. And our guest speaker is John Gracie, and it is on leadership to improve work environments. Is that
Yep.
right? So it should be a really good meeting. I guess he's a great speaker, so everybody's welcome.
For me. Is John Gracie this is his job. He's a speaker, and a motivational speaker. And he's written 5 books, I think, and he goes around. I mean, I got him for nothing. He's a good friend and customer of mine. He's a client of mine. And I got him for free, but I think he charges thousands for his to get togethers, yeah. But this is what he does for a living, travels the world, travels the country. So he should be very good. Yep. Anyway, that's tomorrow at the Oakdale Chamber meeting at the machine shed.
Yep.
Machine shed. Yep.
What time is the meeting?
It's at 11:15.
1:15.
Yep, to 1.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Max, have we covered everything?
Yep. Our council liaison wasn't able to make it, so I do believe that covers everything.
Great. Council liaison update. All right. Okay, then. The only last thing is the adjournment. Can I have Matt, Frank?
One other thing, on the 11th is Veterans Day. There's a breakfast at the prom center, former prom center.
Yeah.
And that's free to all veterans, so anybody here veterans? Bob and I will be at the breakfast. Anyway, it's a free breakfast for all veterans. And there's also a free breakfast on the 7th of November, Veterans Day. That's at the American Legion. It's a lunch, I should say, and it's SOS.
What day?
Is it the 7th? No.
Tomorrow's the 7th.
Tomorrow's the 7th.
Veterans Day is
No,
the 11th.
No, the 11th is Veterans Day.
Yep.
Tomorrow is the breakfast.
Prayer breakfast.
What? The 11th, no, 7th is tomorrow, and that's the breakfast at this prom center. And the 11th is the Veterans Day, and that's when you get all the free stuff. I mean, they have, God almighty,
Okay,
everybody gives free breakfast, and Hy-Vee is very good about that, I guess. Bob, you've been to that, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a big one. That's a good one, too.
excellent.
Yeah.
All right,
That's it. That's all I have to report.
okay. All right, with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, then we are adjourned.